So as I continue to read through the second half of Genesis, really enjoying the stories of Abraham, Isaac and Jacob, and lots of the great famous stories you could say of the Old Testament, and in particular the story of Joseph being famously sold into slavery by his brothers, becoming Potiphar's servant, falsely accused by Potiphar's wife, ending up in jail. And there's the drama in the jail with the baker and the cupbearer of the king when they have their dreams and Joseph interprets them. And then of course Joseph ends up back in good favour with the leadership and with Pharaoh, and ends up really being the president of the country underneath Pharaoh's power. And then it keeps going with the return of his brothers and all the drama and intrigue about the reunion and the forgiveness and the reconciliation. Then of course old Jacob, the heartbroken old father who thought that Joseph, his beloved son, had been killed years and years before in a terrible accident, finds out that he's actually alive, and then there's this beautiful reunion and life is changed for that whole family. So the stories are easy to get sort of swept up in the drama and great lessons about providence and God's provision. But the thing that struck me though, as you sort of step back from the text and you look, is that these stories, Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, they actually emerged over not just decades but centuries. They lived to be well over 100 years old, each of them. And so the part of the story that we have is the very concentrated little dramatic junctions that we are given the privilege to observe. The rest of their lives though doesn't really appear for us in the text, so it's the in-between, and that's the part that I was thinking about. It's the in-between, the long parts of their lives when maybe nothing happens. They're wandering in the desert, they are waiting in a prison, they are heartbroken at home thinking their life is forever in pieces. And then eventually, after years or decades, something changes, and then their life moves on to another platform, another level, another page of the story. So the in-between parts, that's the hard bit. That's the faithfulness when nothing really is going on. That's the work of holding on to the promises of God when it looks like God has just walked off the job. It's the believing when so many of the circumstances might be telling us a contrary story. And so I think so much of the power of the story of the biblical text, it can come to us, yes, through the stories and the drama that we're given, but also I think if we look at what we're not told, the pauses of life in between, when people could have just thrown their hands up in the air or given up, but they just keep going, even when things don't make sense, even when things are dull, even when they've got way more questions than answers, even if the circumstances look like they're turning against them, they just remain faithful. And somehow through those days and weeks and seasons and years, God emerges again as the one who is trustworthy and the one whose providence underwrites everything. And I'm sure we've all been there, or maybe many of us are there, trying to figure out life and faith and family and the future, and not sure what to hold on to, trying to find a sure footing in an ever-changing culture where the circumstances might feel really awkward. It's again that deep breath trust in God, that somehow beyond it all there is still truth, there is still trust and goodness and love and the gospel that prevails. So these great stories from the early pages of the Bible give us dramatic narratives to hold on to, but I think they also teach us the deeper lesson of perseverance and faithfulness and trusting even when it's hard. So something to ponder and to pray into as we do these journeys together. Peace.